So in this video I am going to show how to draw braided hair, and I have my reference photo here, and I really like this picture because she has these beautiful large kind of messy braids. So I've gone ahead and I've drawn out just a simple outline of my picture, and this is really just to kind of help me find placement for everything. I like to draw everything out before I start doing any texture or shade. And I'll probably come back in later and do the face, but I'm going to just focus on the hair today so you can see how to get this beautiful braided and kind of segmented look of hair. So I will be using a tiny eraser and a bunch of pencils here. Let me show you which ones I have. So these are the ones I usually use. I have an HB, a 2H, a 4B, and my darkest one is the 8B. And I like to have a variety of different pencils because you can get different value in the tone color of your lead. So it's a lot easier to use drawing pencils than it is to use just one pencil and try and push hard to get darker colors. And I also have a mechanical pencil, which has in it this fairly dark 4B lead. So, and when you're doing hair, it's nice to have a mechanical pencil because you can get the fine lines and some of the thinner details that you can't get from your regular pencils. Alright, so I'm going to start with my lightest pencil, and that is my 2H, which is a drafting pencil, basically. And I like to come in and just put in some of the lighter tones. So I'm just going to start at the top here. And whenever you're doing hair, you want to make sure that you've drawn it out into segments, right? So I have different sections, especially when you have long hair. You always want to outline your sections. So if I'm looking at my reference photo here, I can see her part is here. She has blonde highlights. So I really want to just draw out every little part that I can see, where the difference in color is and where the movement of the hair is. So I'm going to start right here in this little section. And anytime we're drawing hair, we want to make sure that we are going the direction that the hair is growing, or in this case, it's woven. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to start putting a few hair streaks through that little section here. Now, when we have braids, it's always darkest at the edges here, on the top and the bottom, and then there's a blonde highlight in the middle. Especially with this girl, she has really light hair. So I'm just going to put a few in, and this is a pretty light pencil. So it's not going to blend, but it does give me some nice sharp lines. So then I'm going to switch up to a darker pencil. This is my HB. And again, I'm going to come in, and now you'll see it starts developing a little darker tone. And I'm going to come in and just put in some of those. And I always want my lines to be closer together towards the edges and kind of fade out in the middle. I don't want a whole bunch of really dark lines in the middle of this section. And this isn't just for braids. If you want to have a large section, it would be the same way. Your pencil would be close together towards the edges and on the sides. And then I'm going to go and get a really dark pencil now. And I'm going to put in some of the really darker tones. So you'll see how it starts developing. So there's shadowing, and even in this one section, I'm going to look for little sections within it, which means I want to start finding where the shadows are, where the clump is. And I'm just going to come in and put a little bit of the darker tone. Now I'm going to use a brush to just pull some of that lead into the middle here to kind of soften it up. And that's how we do it, just like that. Put a little bit of dark here kind of throughout. Now if you want to, you can come back in with your tiny eraser and then erase out some of the highlights. So I like to kind of soften everything and get a nice soft blurry blended effect, and then come back in and do just a little bit of the highlights. All right, so let me move on to the next one so you can see. This one, the hair comes out like this and kind of loops down. So as you can see from the photo, it's coming from behind this section. So the hair is going to come out this way and down, just like that in all of them. So I want to make sure that my pencil lines are representing the actual lines of the direction the hair is going. And a lot of times I'll follow through and just pull the whole pencil lead all the way through that section. And this is that really hard pencil. So I'm just getting kind of some of these lighter tones in here. And I'm continuously switching to darker pencils. So through here, I'm going to pull some of the darker ones in, just like this. And up in the edges, you want to have the edges a little bit darker so it looks like it's got this roundness to it. And I really do like drawing hair. Just like that. And then I'm going to pull in my really dark pencil here and find some of these darker areas and give it some real dimension. Just like that. So there's really not a magical trick to hair. It's just you have to learn the technique. If you just keep doing each section this way, when you're done, it'll really look beautiful, just like you drew, you know, a very nice blended hair here. And you can get a really nice realistic look. I'm just going to erase a little bit of the highlights in her hair. Just like that. Up here it's pretty blonde, so I'm going to come in with my little eraser. Now if you don't have a tiny eraser like this, there's a trick you can do. You can take one of these cheap white vinyl erasers, and if you're one of my students, then you should need to ask your parents if they have an X-Acto blade or maybe a box knife, and you can cut off the end at a really sharp angle and get a nice kind of point and make your own tiny eraser. So if you don't have one of these little guys, you can make one. So let's go into the next section here. Maybe I'll do the top part, this little section. So now in this area, we have the hair going off the edge towards the other side, right? So it's going to start at the bottom here, and it comes up and away and loops down off the edge here. And again, I always start with my hardest pencil, which is my lightest line. This is my 2H. And I'm not pushing very hard. I'm letting the lead in the pencil do the work for me here. So I like some of these lighter tones that'll happen when you use a hard pencil. If I had only used one pencil and I had a very dark pencil and just came in with just the very dark pencil, then the whole thing would get so dark too fast that you wouldn't be able to really pull out a lot of the highlights. You'd have a really kind of a mess. So this little section of her hair, as you can see, the roots of her hair are pretty dark. So I'm going to go in and make that fairly dark. And you can see she's not a natural blonde. She has these highlights. So all of this area is going to be very dark. But in the braid itself, I want to keep it fairly light. So I'm just going to pull my pencil in the direction that the hair is growing or that it's tied. Just like that. So that's my hard pencil. I'm going to switch out again. Now I'm getting my HB, and this would be like a 2B for you if you had something similar, just your basic school pencil. And I'm going to come in and just put in some darker tones around the edge here, and just like that. And again, you want the darker towards the top and the bottom, right? That means you have more lines coming out, and you always want to start at the same spot and pull down into the hair. And this is kind of unusual. So the hair is going from here off her forehead and it's being pulled back into the braid. So I'm just going to let my pencil go the direction that the hair is. So it's growing out of her forehead. I want to make sure my pencil is doing that. And then I'll just put a little bit more in there, and now I'm going to switch into my darkest pencil, which is my 8B, and I'm going to really start gently putting in some of these darker shadows here. And you want to make sure you don't fill it all the way in. You want to leave little flecks of light. So when you start getting into these darker pencils, these softer leads, it has a tendency to have kind of a wider stroke. So that's why sometimes I like to use the mechanical pencil with a dark lead in it, so I can get really fine details. So, and I see that it's pretty dark right through here. So I'm going to come in and darken it. And then I use my little brush and I'm just going to soften it. And the darker leads, the 8Bs, 6Bs, they're very soft, so you can actually blend them out. And that's one thing I use to do skin tone. I'll use a little brush and just a little bit of graphite on my brush, just to give you that subtle shadow. So I'm going to come along her face here and just put a little shadowing in. Just like that for now. Alright, so again, her hair was really dark through here, and then it got light up in here. So I'm going to come in and really pull out some of the light here. Just like that. And I got a little messy, so I'm just going to clean up the edges here. All right. And in some cases, if you really want it blended, you can use a blending stick like this to pull some of those softer bunches through here. And that'll make it really soft. But if you're going to use one of these, you want to make sure that you are not going against the grain, right? You want to make sure that it's pulling it the same direction the hair grows. This is essential for making it look realistic. All right, so now I've got a few bunches done. I'll do one more, and let's see, here's my HB. So I'm going to put in this little one here. And again, I'm always looking at my reference photo to see which way the hair is growing. And it's coming out here and back through this way. I'm going to do that. And so it's basically just learning this technique. So if you're at home and you want to learn how to do this, just draw, you know, a strange shape and practice doing that on your paper. You don't need to have the whole thing drawn out. Just practice a little section, and that will really help you. And now I'm going to switch into my dark one here. And I really want to pull in some of these darks where it's braided between to show that there's depth there. Like that. And then I'm just going to soften it a little bit with my brush. And if you're wondering what brush I'm using, this is just a watercolor brush. I know a lot of artists use makeup brushes. Kind of up to you. You want to use something that has a little firmness to it, but is also soft. So here's kind of a big section. Let's put that one in. So again, I'm looking at the direction the hair is. It comes in through here, kind of loops this way. And I like to use the hard pencil first, just so I can kind of get the flow of things. Because once you start going into the darks, it gets a little harder to change, to erase. So I'm going to make sure that the edges have a little bit darker and more of the strokes on them here. And then again at the end is where a lot of my pencil strokes will be closer together here towards the edge in this section, because that's where the shadow is. And so it's kind of just repeating the same thing over and over again. Go light, then go medium, then go dark, then blend it, and then erase out your highlights. Now on her face, she has lots of these little baby hairs. So for that, I'm going to use my middle pencil here, and I'm going to put a few just kind of random little strokes just to show that she's got some baby hair, and she's got some going kind of towards her forehead here. I'm going to just give her some little fuzzies. And as it gets closer, there's a few darker, kind of looser hairs in here. And I'm going to come in and just give her a few really sharp, kind of softer hairs through her little braid here. She has a few wild hairs. And lighten up a little bit, ones that you don't really like too much. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to soften that up, giving her a little shadow around her braid here. Okay. So that's how we do a braid, and as you can see, you could go in and erase a lot more of the lights. I kind of like a darker, streaky pencil. It's just a preference. But there you go. That's how you do a braid and hair. And I'm just going to continue on this process all the way down, and I'm going to finish it off, and then I'm going to come back and do this section here. All right, thanks for watching.